Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to Mod Extra Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel. And as you can see on the screen in front of you, today's installment is going to be taking a closer look at the Fresh Monkey Fiction Big Bad Workshop Operation Monster Force Phantom Corps Special Operator Trooper. And here it is. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know about this figure so that if you've been thinking about picking one up for yourself, then you'll know whether it's worth your hard-earned cash or not. I'm going to give you a walkthrough of the packaging and show you the peg presence of the packaging, then move into the figure, talk about the aesthetic and the visual experience, talk about the articulation and posability, talk about the accessories and all the added value and everything that's chucked in. And with all that said and done, you'll have some good, thorough information to know whether this is a figure for you or not. So let's not hang around, let's get into it, and let's jump back in time to visit past Chris, who's taking a look at the packaging on the day it arrived on my doorstep. Here we go. Okay then, folks, well, here is the Phantom Corps Special Ops Soldier guy. What is it? Detachment Trooper. And as you can see, it's the standard Operation Monster Force packaging with the kind of gravestone motif around the back, big logo in the centre, picture of the figure on the front. On the back, we've got action shot of the figure, Season 0, flavour text with interesting stuff, the cross-selling, little cross-product promotion of all the other figures in this wave across the bottom, some other bits and bobs, the Gridiron Studios, shout out for the weapon design. Both the sides are pretty straightforward. They've got the logo, the name of the figure, Phantom Corps Special Operations Detachment Trooper, and then it's number 13 in the line. Is number 13 the one where there's been an accidental repeat of the number? I can't remember, but nonetheless, there you go. Then we can open up the packaging like so to see the little biographical information, the little comic telling the story, and then the window section of the box showing off the figure and all the goodies. So he's got a gun down there, his hands, and then some baggies of goodies in the background there. Mine's had a little bit of a knock in transit. Can you see it's a bit squished up? But it doesn't appear to have affected the figure on the inside. So there we go. There is the Special Ops, Phantom Corps Special Ops in packaging for the minting box folks or for those interested in the peg presents. But I'm going to get this bad boy cracked open, get good and hands-on, have some man-child playtime, take some photos, do some dios, do some displays, jot down some review thoughts, and future Chris is going to come back and share those review thoughts with you in just a moment. So stick around because he's going to be here in 3, 2, 1. Okay, folks, well, here is the Phantom Corps Special Operations Detachment Trooper, which I'll just call Special Ops from here on in. And we're going to get started by talking about the aesthetic qualities, the visual experience of the figure. And here's a nice head-to-toe look of the fig as it came out of the box. And as you can see, you know, it's a toy soldier. It's a toy soldier. He's in a set of green camo gear, although albeit in a kind of lighter green colour scheme. Any military folks out there want to drop in the comments and educate me around camouflages and why this one's a lighter colour, but maybe designed for forest engagements or something. And you can see, you know, he's got his balaclava on, he's got his green uniform, he's got his tactical bulletproof jacket thing here, lots of pockets and pouches for carrying useful gear. You know, it's a good, solid toy soldier. Moving in a little closer so that we can take a look at some of the finer details. Starting with the head sculpt here, look at this. Look at this. All we've got is this little cutaway in the balaclava for the eyes, and how much is going on there? That looks like one angry dude. So seriously angry dude. Now, out of the box is the black guy under the balaclava, but they have got a white guy version as well. So if you're army building, you can do your kit bashing and chopping and changing of your gear to change it up. But this is how he comes out the box. And yeah, just look at that. So much being communicated by the limited amount of actual face that we're seeing. And the paint applications there on the eyes, the eyeballs, and the sculpting just in that small section there is doing so much work. I love it. This is an intense special operator on our hands here. But then you can see, despite the balaclava, the head mask, there's lots of lovely contours and shapes. There's seam lines in here for the sort of fabric quality of it all. The camouflage paint scheme is continued all the way around. So even though we can't see his nose and his mouth and stuff, the sculpting shape as it's pulled tight over the chin there is really, really great. Moving a bit further down into his tactical vest, you can see just loads of great detail in here. All the different pockets and pouches and bits and bobs clipped on, strapped onto his tactical vest. This is how it comes out the packaging. We'll talk about some of the accessories and the customization, the sort of kitbashy stuff a bit later on. But you can see lots of sort of different color schemes in here with the greens and the browns and loads of fine detail paint applications, like these little green vials strapped on to his shoulder there, his little radio communicator, his little logo symbol on the front here. Lovely wash across all of this as well, like the little shotgun shells are painted red at one end and brass at the other. Got a little paint application on this multi-tool that's pocketed away there. And if you look around the side as well, you can see that kind of core brown colour on the underside, but the green straps, again with a lovely wash across them, and paint applications on the clasps as well. And that continues down into other detail areas of the figure, like the belt across the waist here. You can see paint application on the buckle, got these little carabiner clips there, all individually painted with a little green strap on top of the brown leather belt. The shotgun shells, once again, with brass at one end and red at the other, all painted, all washed across the top to give it some wear and tear. You carry on round, you can see the same again with the pockets at the back, another clasp here, just all this fine detail, extra bits and bobs, just really give it loads of depth and character and personality. We've got a thigh holster here and knee pads as well as we move down into the legs. Again, you can see the wash over the top of these to give it some wear and tear and just to, again, give it some depth, as I mentioned before, which is really nice to see. The camo pattern's really lovely in the legs and matches well. The colour matching to the top half of the body matches well to the bottom half with the legs. And then you've got that kind of texture detail in here. Let me make sure it's in focus. The texture detail in here and all that kind of bunching up as the trouser legs hit the boots at the bottom, which are in a brown, very practical, tactical boots, but again with the wash across them. So those darker recesses are really kind of filled in and shaded to give it just some lovely, lovely reality. Even the hands, on the gloves, got a wash applied to them there. Got the padding across the back just to give it some depth. One thing I will say is that the fact that the figures had some dry brushing or some washing going on to give it that depth means that some of the more plasticky areas stand out. So these two clasps and the straps on the thigh holster, for example, look a little bit plasticky. And this little radio communicator on the side there, it's just painted a pure black. So that ends up standing out. It stands out against, because they put so much attention to detail and so much quality into the rest of the figure, sometimes these little bits can stand out. But even then, it blends, the green of that strap just blends in really well against the leg anyway, so it's negligible. The tactical vest is a bit bulky, but I mean, of course it is, because it's got all these pockets and pouches and all this kind of stuff on it. It's loose enough though that it's got a little bit of movement in it, so it doesn't restrict your articulation, which obviously we'll take a look at in a minute, too much, but it does make him feel a little bulked out. And there are some additional accessories which we'll have a look at later on in the video, where you can add some elbow pads and stuff which sort of add to that visual identity as well, in addition to his balaclava. But one thing I will point out is that you'll see there's some pocket sections in there where you can add some stuff. This is attached with a pop stud. This is attached with a pop stud. There's a little pop stud section at the back here as well. So these all allow for those additional kind of bits of customization that the accessories will open up to allow you to sort of change up a little bit, not massively, but change up a little bit the visual experience with this figure. So aesthetically, yeah, I mean, I've got to give this guy a thumbs up. As far as kind of out-the-box toy soldiers go, this guy's offering a lot, and he ought to as well, because, he is priced a little bit higher than your sort of standard off-the-shelf G.I. Joe or Valaverse figure, for example. So those extra added elements, the paint applications, the details, sculpted details, the wash, the texture details, they ought to be present for the slightly inflated price, but at least you can see where the money's going. But he looks good, looks solid, just as a kind of rank and file kind of special operator for any military line collector. This has got the look for sure. It's a very striking figure indeed. So there you go, there's the visuals. Let's now take a look at the articulation. And as always, folks, when we've got a figure like this that is has a standard articulation scheme from the line it belongs to, some of you may be less interested in seeing this walkthrough, so I've popped timestamps in down below. There's chapters. You can jump ahead to take a look at the accessories and added value section of the review. However, if this is the first ever Operation Monster Force review you've ever seen, or you're interested to know whether there's any particular quirks with this figure, especially uniquely, then stick around and I'll walk you through it and I'll get started with the head. And as far as the head goes, we've got a ball in the base of the head, a ball in the base of the neck, and then a hinge in the neck as well, which gives you some really good down, really good up, lots of swivel and tilt and whatnot. It's all very, very, very good. What I will say is I had to heat him up a great deal. The neck joint was tricky, and the ball joint at the base of the neck it is very tight on the joint at the bottom of the neck there, which you don't really notice in the out of the box articulation, but then when you start swapping the head back and forth, you really notice how tight that it is. But yeah, lots of good movement up there, nothing restricting it. Moving down into the shoulders and arms, you can see there's a butterfly joint there, giving you some shuffle forward and back. Peg and hinge in the shoulders, you can go full 360 and then bring them out to a T-shape like so. Got the swivel there at the top of the bicep and tricep. This is quite stiff as well. Pinless double elbow that'll get you up to there. Then pegged in hands that can move around in the wrist point there. And then these two hands that were on him as he came out the box have got forward and back hinges like so. But some of the other hands, there's quite a few hand swaps, have got up and down hinges on them as well. Moving into the torso, underneath the tactical vest, there's, I think, a barbell joint. And then we've got the ball at the waist. You can see then as you swivel it, because of the way the tactical vest is designed, it can sort of move with it. And then you've got the swivel and spin and motion in the ball joint at the waist as well. Your crunch is all right, back and forth. It's not too bad. And the vest isn't getting in the way that much, really. Not that much. You can't get super far forward, but it's all right. Moving down into the groin and hips, it's a drop-down joint there. The forward's not fantastic. Look at that. But the Russian ballet splits are okay. Got the swivel here at the top of the thigh. Pinless double knee that gets up to there. Then you've got a boot joint underneath the trouser leg there, allowing you to turn the foot, swivel it a little bit inside there, although the way that this flares over the top restricts that a little bit. And then you've got the hinge and rocker for the feet. So yeah, the articulation is pretty good. I'll give it a thumbs up. It's certainly up to the kind of modern standard that you get, again, with other military lines like G.I. Joe and Valorverse. And he moves pretty good. I've not found my imagination limited by the articulation in some of the stuff I was trying to do. The only thing I will say, just to reiterate, very, very tight. Very, very tight. I have repeatedly had to apply heat to help me out with this figure. And as the weather's got a bit colder here in the UK and my man cave gets cold overnight, I've found the following day just gone really rigid again. And you can certainly hear that sort of creaking. Maybe my mic's not picking it up from over here, but there's certainly very creaky kind of figures in that respect. But this is par for the course now for a 16th action figure collector, really, even with some of the bigger manufacturers. But especially noticeable with this guy out the box. Some of the stuff has loosened up nicely, like I've heated up the neck and the head so much that's started to really, really get it, as I have up here on the butterfly joints. But yeah, very, very tight. Needed a lot of heat. But yeah, very easily manipulable. Wide range of possibilities for the types of posing or photos that you might want to take. Doing the job. So there you go. Okay, so that's the articulation. Let's now take a look at the accessories and added value, shall we? And first on the list, as far as the accessories go, we've got the white dude version of the head there. In fact, it's a head and a neck. I'm not entirely sure why they gave us a second neck, because it's a head swap, but they did nonetheless. So we've got an extra neck and then the head swap with the white dude. It's exactly the same sculpt, just different ethnic origin, different eye color, but everything else is exactly the same and up to the same standard as well. Same intensity there in the little eye holes, and of course the eyes and the sculpt and paint applications and everything. Really lovely jubbly. And then while we're doing head-related accessories, we have also got the Phantom Core beret here in a lovely, very striking red with the Phantom Core logo, little insignia on the front here. Nice sculpt, nice shape, nice contours, nice colour. Again, got that little bit of a wash in there to give it some lovely depth and texture. And add a little splash of colour to the experience with the character. Then we have a couple of bits that came loose that you can sort of take on and off your figure. And so starting with the elbow pads here, you can see they're just a double strapped elbow pad with a similar design to the knee pads on them there. I've put mine, let's get him in focus. There you go. I put mine on each of the two arms. Very easy, very straightforward, just to pop the hands, slide in over the top, not a problem. And then you've also got another thigh piece here. Again, a double strap thigh piece in the same design as the pistol holster with the green straps and the brown clasps, and then the brown main body piece there with some nice sculpted details. And you can see that this has got a pop stud hole in it, which we'll circle back round to in a second. Then into his weapons loadout, and this is where the Gridiron Studios stuff comes into play. I believe this is like his little submachine gun that he's got there. A single piece of moulded plastic in the main body. However, this suppressor on the front and the magazine are removable, so you can pop them on and off as you see fit. It's in the black, but you can see it's got this lovely metallic dry brush over the top to give it some extra depth. And then I don't know if you noticed when I popped the magazine, but they've even painted in the top bullet on the top of the magazine there. That's a lovely little bit of flavour, bit of extra detail. Then we've got his handgun here. Looks like a kind of 9mm type thing, single piece of moulded plastic. The dry brush, the metallic dry brush over the top of this is not as noticeable, not as significant, so it looks a bit more plasticky than this. If I kind of put them next to each other there, and you can see it a bit, but not quite as much. But it's fine. Yeah, looks like a good pistol. No problems at all. This has on-figure storage as well. I pointed out the holster on his thigh earlier. There you go, just pops in on the thigh holster, although what I will say is that thigh holster is very, very tight. There's also some spare magazines. We've got this kind of straight one here, if you'd rather pop that into your little submachine gun, and 2 additional magazines as well. And I pointed out that little storage space on the front of the vest, so you can pop the magazines in on the front, you know, so you can carry them. Then we have his knife here, a black blade, again, with a little bit of a metallic dry brush over the top of it, and then a brown handle sculpted in there. And this comes with a little sheath, a little knife sheath here, as you can see, in the same aesthetic design as the rest of the gear, with the green dry brush pockets and the brown colour scheme at the back, so you can slide the knife in here. And then this is where we start to get into the pop stud area, because you can see it's got a little pop stud on it there. You could mount it in this stud here, pop it in there like so. Or you could pop it in the stud hole on the back of his vest here like that, although I'm not sure that's quite practical. Or you can remove these green vials and pop it on the shoulder of his vest here. Like so. And that's not the only pop stud little accessory. We've got this extra pouch here with a slot in there to take another magazine. I've been putting this straight one in here because it seemed like the best fit. You can, you know, clip that on the back or on the thigh. And then we have this blank leather plate for the front of his tactical vest. With some little stitching detail in around the side. So if you want to pick up this figure and you're not into the Phantom Core, supernatural, mystical kind of Operation Monster Force, but you want to integrate this guy as a toy soldier in your wider collection to use with other figures, you can pop that Phantom Core logo off the front and pop this on. There you go, like so. Although, as you can see, the kind of brown is a little bit lighter than the rest of the vest. Now, I've said it before on this channel, I'm not the biggest fan of these kind of pop stud, these rubbery pop stud kind of pieces. They really drive me mad when they're on holsters, the little tiny ones. And these are okay, but they are still a bit of a fuss and a faff. Removing my Phantom Core one there, you know, I've ended up bending it a little bit, and you have to like really squish and squeeze the vest to get the hole to work. Or this one here is pretty tricky on the thigh. However, I like this idea of adding all these kind of little extra small but meaningful bits of customization around stuff like the elbow pads and what you can pop on and pop off. So taking the green vials and the Phantom Core off the front there, popping the dagger on, just makes him even more kind of generic toy soldier to fit in with your other military lines. Then we've got a wide selection of hand swaps. We've got a trigger finger for the right hand. We've got a pointy finger for the right hand. Closed fists for either hand. Open palm for either hand. A thumbs up for the left. And then another grippy hand like this one for the left as well, which strikes me as odd. I don't know why they've given me 2 of the same hand in the set, but looking at the way the blister pack was moulded, it's correct, it's the right one, and I just thought maybe we'd have had a trigger finger for both sides. But nonetheless, I mean, in terms of opening up your world opposing possibilities and display possibilities, this is really, really good. We've got a small selection of blast effects there, you know, just shooty shoot, pew pew type things with the kind of firing, flamey style effect in that sort of transparent orange and yellow design, which can add a little bit of flavour to your displays, and then a little smoking barrel effect as well. And then finally, as is standard with the Operation Monster Force line, we've got the foot stand here in the tombstone design with the Operation Monster Force logo stamped into it. 2 foot pegs to go with the holes at the bottom of the feet. And then the Phantom Corps Special Operations Trooper title printed across the front. So, yeah, I mean, thumbs up on the accessories. There's obviously a lot of stuff going on there. I like the way that they've leaned into this sort of kind of kit and bash customization culture so that you can, your whole line, you know, your whole Operation Monster Force line, you can play around with as you see fit, but also mix and match with other stuff from other lines if you're so inclined as well. You know, just lots of choice, lots of options there, which really makes it a fun and interesting play experience. The only thing I will say is that, you know, the bulk of that vest makes it very difficult sometimes to quite get him into the shooty pose that you are looking for. But, you know, with a bit of patience and a bit of finessing, which I obviously don't have because I'm impatient and just a, you know, meat-handed, heavy-handed dickhead, then you can get him to where you want him to be. And again, in terms of that inflated cost, that extra cost of figure, it's another area in which you can see where that money is going. So, yeah, lovely. Enjoying the accessory selection. No two ways about it. All right, well, that's the accessories. Let's now take a quick look at this guy next to a couple of other figures, shall we? Okay, folks, well, here is the Special Ops, the Special Operator next to General Brown from Operation Monster Force. Here he is next to the Black Deco Sleepwalker. Is that, I've forgotten what the distinction is there. Sleepwalker Commander? Sleepwalker Heavy Weapons? I can't remember, but there he is nonetheless. Here he is next to a couple of sort of soldier boy, toy soldier type Joes. We've got Grunt here and the 60th anniversary infantry officer. And here he is next to Dracula. All right, folks, well, here is the Phantom Corps Special Operator going around on the turntable, so you can have a nice 360 look at the figure. And while he's going around there, I'll offer up some final thoughts. And I think it would be fair to say, regulars around these parts will confirm that I'm not always one to get excited about a kind of straight-up toy soldier type figure. I'm into the wacky stuff. I like the more fantastical and science fiction-y and balmy type bits and bobs. You know, Operation Monster Force has got that mystical supernatural thing going on with it. But I gotta say, I found something about this one quite curious, quite intriguing, and I've been man-child playing a lot with it. And I can't fully explain why. I can't quite put my finger on it because he is, to all intents and purposes, a good, solid toy soldier figure. I think it might be something to do with those kind of finer sculpted details and those, you know, the dry brushing, the washes, the gridiron gun, just everything gives it just an extra little bit of flavour that really gives him some shelf presence and draws your eye. And maybe that's what it is. I don't know. If you've got any ideas, let me know in the comments down below. But I'm into it, and I definitely recommend it. Thumbs up. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun with this figure, and as far as adding another trooper to the wider military line collection that I've got growing here, yeah, I like this one a lot. It's done right by me, for sure. So there you go. Okay, well, thanks for watching, folks. I hope you found this useful. I hope if you've been thinking about picking up one of these for yourself, it has helped you make your mind up, helped you decide whether it's worth your hard-earned cash. If I have, then do all the YouTubey stuff with the buttons and things. But all that remains to say, really, is I hope you have a great day, hope you have a great week, and I'll catch you around these parts again for another video sometime soon, all right? Take it easy, folks.